And one of the main issues for us as couples to determine in our marriage is what roles you're going to play in your marriage. On our radio show, we often hear of men who are working, they come home at the end of the day and they plop down on the sofa. The wife comes home from work, or maybe she's worked inside the home all day long. And what happens is she will work well into the evening. Every couple needs to decide what they're going to do as far as this push and pull in roles within their marriage. Even with cultural changes, we need to have respect and open communication when we serve one another and attempt to meet the needs in our spouse. Oftentimes, when one husband's mother has been home all of her life, taking care of her son and the whole family, he can look to his wife as though she's to be his mother. Not so in marriage. One man we know says this, "Your wife ain't your mama," and we agree. Your wife is your wife. Treat her with that honor and respect, and be open to meeting her needs as you listen to the needs that she has in her heart as well.
You know, we need to be clear about how we can lighten each other's loads. We look at these marital expectations, we look at these roles, and every couple has got to discern and figure out how they're going to do this. And you know what, guys? I really think the preponderance of responsibility lies on us as the husbands that set the pace for what we call outserving our mate. And when we set that pace, you know what, it makes our wives respond to us. And when she reciprocates, it makes that all reasonable. Now, how do you do this? A lot of you didn't see this in the home that you grew up in. But you know what? When we go back to the Word of God, we can see where Jesus demonstrates this. And one of the best places of that demonstration is in the upper room just before he went to the cross. And you know the story here. I mean, he is seated at a table and he's with the disciples and he knows what's coming. And he gets up from the table and he takes a cloth that's wrapped around his waist and he takes a bowl, and you can imagine those disciples looking at him going, what is Jesus going to do? Because in that culture, the lowliest servant is the one who washed the feet of the visitors. And yet here is Jesus, and he takes a bowl and he goes up to Peter, and you've read that story so many times in John 13. And he begins to wash his feet, and Peter pushes back because he doesn't want that to be done. See, what Jesus has demonstrated is absolute humility and service. And when he did that, you know, he set the pace for us as men on how we're going to love and outserve our wives. Years ago, I spoke at a Promise Keepers, and there were 60-some thousand guys in Indianapolis at that event. And I went and took a bottle of water and a hanky and got down, and Barb didn't know I was going to do this, but I remember, Barb, I brought you up on the platform, and I bowed down, and I said, guys, I'm going to show you something, because this is what Jesus demonstrates for us. This isn't about Gary and Barb Rosberg, it's about Christ and the way he serves us. And I washed Barb's feet. And at the end of reading that passage out of John 13, verse 17 is what rocked my world. And here's what Jesus says. He says, now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. And every guy and every gal watching this video series wants to be blessed by God. I want to be blessed by God. But you know what? We need to be intentional to serve our spouse.
When we serve one another from our hearts, just as you did for me, Gary, you communicated in such a clear and concise way. When we serve one another from a clean heart, a heart that isn't perfect but is desiring to do it right, that's when we are truly blessed in our marriage. We really do encourage you to button down how to communicate clear and concisely. There oftentimes can be a push and pull in this area of marriage. When you serve one another and you really enjoy it, you can enjoy the ride. When we come back from this break, we're going to learn 5 ways to truly love your spouse.